In their combination of intensity and geographical extent, the 1848 revolutions were unique, at least in European history. Neither the Great French Revolution of 1789, nor the July Revolution of 1830, nor the Paris Commune of 1870, nor the Russian revolutions of 1905 and 1917 sparked a comparable transcontinental cascade. 1989 looks like a better comparator, but there is still controversy as to whether these uprisings can be characterized as revolutions. In 1848, by contrast, parallel political tumults broke out across the entire continent, from Switzerland and Portugal to Wallachia and Moldavia, from Norway, Denmark and Sweden to Palermo and the Ionian Islands. This was the only truly European revolution that there has ever been. But it was also, in some respects, a global upheaval, or at least a European upheaval with a global dimension. The news of revolution in Paris had a profound impact on the French Caribbean, and the measures adopted by London to avoid revolution on the British mainland triggered protests and uprisings across the British imperial periphery. In the young nations of Latin America, too, the European revolutions galvanized liberal and radical political elites. Even in far-off Australia, the February Revolution created political waves, though it was not until 19th of June 1848 that the news of the February events reached Sydney in the colony of New South Wales, a reminder of what the Australian historian Geoffrey Blainey once mournfully described as the tyranny of distance. The revolutions involved a vast panorama of charismatic and gifted actors, from Giuseppe Garibaldi to Marie Dagout, author under a male pseudonym of the best contemporary history of the revolutions in France, from the French socialist Louis Blanc to the leader of the Hungarian national movement Lajos Kossuth, from the brilliant conservative liberal social theorist, historian and politician Alexis Charles-Henri Clérel de Tocqueville, to the Wallachian soldier, journalist and agrarian radical Nicolae Bălcescu. From the young patriot poet Sándor Petőfi, whose recitation of a new national song for the Hungarians electrified the revolutionary crowds in Budapest, to the troubled priest Félicité de Lamennais, whose ultimately unsuccessful struggle to reconcile his faith with his politics made him one of the most famous thinkers in the pre-1848 world. From the writer Georges Sand, who composed revolutionary bulletins for the provisional government in Paris, to the Roman popular tribune Angelo Brunetti, known affectionately as Cicciruacchio or Chubby, a true man of the people who did much to shape the unfolding of the Roman Revolution of 1848 to 1849. Not to mention the countless women who sold broadsheets and newspapers in the streets of the European cities or fought at the barricades. They are very prominent in the visual depiction of these revolutions. For politically sentient Europeans, 1848 was an all-encompassing moment of shared experience. It turned everyone into contemporaries, branding them with memories that would last as long as life itself. These revolutions were experienced as European upheavals. The evidence for this is superabundant. But they were nationalized in retrospect. The historians and memory managers of the European nations later absorbed them into specific national stories. The supposed failure of the German revolutions was sucked into the national narrative known as the Sonderweg, or special path, where it helped to power a thesis about Germany's aberrant road into modernity, a road that culminated in the disaster of the Hitler dictatorship. Something similar happened in Italian historical writing, where the failure of revolution in 1848 was seen as pre-programming an authoritarian drift into the new Italian kingdom, and thereby paving the road to the March on Rome in 1922 and the fascist seizure of power that followed. In France, the failure of 1848 was seen as ushering in the Bonapartist interlude of the Second Empire, which in turn anticipated the future triumph of Gaullism. In other words, focusing on the supposed failure of 1848 also had the consequence of allowing these stories to be channeled into a plurality of parallel nation-state-focused narratives.